guys, it's Alyssa Irene. Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here to my channel, hello there. I'm Alyssa Irene and I'm visually impaired. I make content about my life, my blindness, things like that. So if you guys are interested and you want to stick around for future videos, go ahead and subscribe because I never thought I would be going blind. You probably didn't think I was blind, so welcome. So today I want to talk about something that affects my life on an everyday basis and is a topic that gets brought up a lot. I want to get straight to the point on this because a lot of people who are blind or visually impaired, or even some people who have disabilities, always get asked the topic about driving. Driving is a really big topic that a lot of people ask me about. I think it's a question I get asked probably the most frequent and just most often. Even when I bring up my blindness or someone finds out that I'm visually impaired or they know that I have low vision, like the first question that comes into their mind is, do you drive? And I know it's kind of hit or miss because some people who are visually impaired and have low vision can actually drive. They still have decent remaining vision left. They can still pass the eye test, or maybe they have bioptic lenses or things like that to modify their driving. But today I want to talk about the people who can't drive and how that really affects us mentally, how it affects our everyday lives, and kind of how it makes me feel when people ask me that question or they bring up the topic of driving, like the whys, the ifs, the buts. I said buts. But all those questions, and just kind of address it because it's just brought up so much, and I want to shed some light on this situation because there's kids screaming outside. Hopefully anyone in my, regular life or anyone who is visually impaired and can kind of relate to this, I'm here, I understand, I know how frustrating it is, and for anyone who asks me, I know it's just a question that people are curious about, but I just want to talk to you guys about how it makes me feel and what I think about driving and all that fun stuff. So let's just get into it. So I've been visually impaired for about 5 years now, and I have never gotten my learner's permit, never got my license, didn't get to experience that part of my life, and I know having the capability to drive is such a privilege, and a lot of people in society have that ability to do that. A lot of people can drive. In my case, not driving is kind of my norm at this point. Do I wish I could drive, and do I have days where I wish that I could be fully sighted and drive and have that freedom and independence? Yeah, a lot. It would be nice to get up and be able to go grab myself a coffee or go shopping on my own, or, even like go grab some food or something. There are days where I wish I could do that, but I can't. Now, when people ask me the question about driving, my response obviously is no, but I really like to emphasize and remind people that driving is a privilege and that it's not a right. At first, when I was losing my vision, I was really bitter. I was really mad at the fact that I couldn't drive. I wasn't like everyone else my age. I wasn't out on the road blasting my stereo and driving. I had some grief in that period of time, but the older I've gotten, the more I've realized, like, that's okay. Driving is a privilege and it's not a right, and not everyone drives. Now, the next thing that is associated with me not driving is people ask me, well, how do you get from point A to point B, or how do you get somewhere? And honestly, my mode of transportation, 99% of the time, is Joel. Gratefully, my parents are in my life and they'll hang out with me and go places, and they are willing and able to take me places. I do hang out with friends and stuff like that, and that's my mode of transportation. Now, I know it's different in different kinds of cities that people live in. I, for one, don't live in like a major city that has access to like a train or a subway or things like that. I'm in a pretty generic place. I know a lot of people get on the topic of like Ubers or Lyfts, and I'm just gonna address my comfortability with that right now. The thought of it kind of scares me. Now, I know it's probably a great idea and a lot of people utilize that, but for me specifically, using an Uber or a Lyft, I would primarily be by myself a lot of the time, and something about just going in a car with a stranger kind of scares the crap out of me, not going to lie. So that's just my thoughts on that. I'm sure it's really great. I would be more comfortable if I could go in pairs with someone. Maybe I'll try it out one day. I have no idea. So it can be hard sometimes, and it can be difficult to explain to people because not a lot of people get it. And I remember when I was first diagnosed, I wasn't legally blind yet. I was losing my vision, and people, not gonna lie, I felt really nagged and really pressured to drive because that's what everyone, when I was diagnosed, I was 15 when I was diagnosed, so that was like all the rave. I felt really pressured to go and get my permit, but in a sad way, like I knew I was going to lose a substantial amount of vision, so I kind of thought, like, what's the point? Because I would have just, had my permit and gotten it, and then I would have had something, taken from me again, and I just didn't want to deal with that. And I just kind of had to put myself in a mental place and understand that like, it's not how my life's gonna go. I have to adjust and work around it, and I'm fine with that. I know I will always get asked about the whole driving part and things like that. And I always tell people that I may not drive, but that doesn't mean I haven't driven a car before, or things like that. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I've never gotten behind the wheel before in a safe area. I have, and it is a sense of freedom, and it is really amazing, and it is really awesome. But at the end of the day, I always, but while I'm behind the wheel, I'm thinking, thank God I'm not, on the interstate, or I'm not on the highway, or I'm not on the actual streets, because it would be scary. And I think my life is more precious and more important than having the privilege to drive. Does that make sense? That's just how I see driving. And if any of you guys are visually impaired and you guys can't drive, I hope you kind of look at it that way. And if anything, not being able to drive has made me a very aware kind of passenger. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Just as a passenger, I'm so much more aware of like my surroundings and what's going on in directions and where I'm going. I'm a pro at that stuff. How driving affects my day-to-day life. So at the moment, Joel is my #1 mode of transportation. Bless his heart. I love him so much. Like, I can't thank him enough. He's the reason I get to work every day. He's the reason I'm able to go out and do things. And as cheesy as it sounds, like, he's the reason that I get some sense of independence and I'm not stuck in a house all day. Let me tell you, I would go nuts if I was stuck in a house all day. So I am super grateful that I have friends who are willing to take me places or hang out with me. I'm thankful that Joel and I's schedule right now at the moment lines up perfectly and it works out very well. And that when Joel had to work a little extra in the winter, his work was really accommodating, and I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Like, I don't think people understand how much those little things mean to me, but I always make sure that I return the favor. And if I'm hanging out with a friend, I'll buy food, I'll give them gas money, I'll pick up the tab. It's just things like that to just show my appreciation and say, like, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for, allowing me the freedom to get out and, be in the car even though I'm a passenger. Like, I appreciate it. So how it affects me on a daily basis, there are days where I can't leave the house. There are days where I, can't always get a ride with someone or go do something when I want to. And asking for a ride or asking to hang out definitely can feel like a burden. It can feel like you're just a kid and you need to hitch a ride with someone. And it's kind of embarrassing at times because I don't always want to ask someone for a ride. I don't want to take the initiative and be like, let's go somewhere because I can't drive. It actually makes me feel really crappy, to be honest. And I'm not ever really open about this kind of stuff, but it really affects how I feel mentally about the whole driving situation when I have to ask people for a ride. And I know sometimes people are always like, well, if you need a ride, I'm here and I can take you somewhere. I kind of push it in the back of my head and I'm like, thanks, like, I understand. I never want to feel like I'm using someone or taking advantage of someone. And that's why I can feel like a burden at times, because I don't want the people I hang out with the most to think, oh, I'm only good for her because I can drive her places. It sounds really sad, but I love the people in my life enough to respect that they have their own lives and their own schedules, and it is really hard. It's hard to like ask for help or ask for assistance in that sense. So it does bum me down sometimes. And I mean, there's literally nights where I just sit in my bed and I'm like, I wish I could go like shopping or go pick something up or go look somewhere and just to do things independently. And I don't think people understand the whole topic of driving is always thrown in my face. It's one simple topic, but it just has an array of feelings and effects on my life. Not being able to drive has to kind of affect where I work, how far I work, how Joel's schedule matches mine, for instance, and things like that. I've moved jobs before because of distance, because of driving, because of schedules and all of that. And it is really sad because I feel like my life always has to be altered to accommodate someone else, which makes sense in the fact that they are transporting me there. They are taking me there. They're allowing me to go to work every day and allowing me to go do things and have appointments and things like that, which I totally understand. In like a selfish kind of way, it makes me think of like, why should I alter my life for something that I didn't ask for? Like, I didn't ask to not be able to drive. I didn't want to not be able to drive. But at the end of the day, I understand and I get it, and I'm grateful and I'm content. I'm content, to say the least. In a raw way, this is how I feel. This is how it affects me. Yeah, I've switched job locations before. I've changed jobs because of, the distance and how long it takes to get there. I've had to switch jobs for, hours to coordinate together. And I'm sure in the future there will be times where I'm going to have to do that again. And it's hard and it sucks. And I don't think people really understand, but it's hard and it really sucks. And I feel like I never get consistency with that because of the fact that I can't drive. I feel like there's no consistency with like a job or like timing. I feel like things are never just like laid out, and I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I kind of pick up and move and, you know, rearrange my schedules and rearrange my appointments and kind of rearrange my life in a sense. And like I said, I never want to come across ungrateful or unappreciative for, you know, the people who do help me out in my life. You know, they know that, but I'm just explaining how hard it can be for me to feel like I have no consistency. I'm so used to like changing a schedule, going different places, altering my life to fit the needs of other people. Sometimes I wish it wasn't that way. Sometimes I wish that I could have a little bit more consistency and that my life and my goals and everything that I do is just as important as the next person's, but sadly that's not always the case. So it's really, so I feel like my feelings can get like overlooked in the process. Like that's just the hard truth. That's what it feels like sometimes, that I'm like less than or not important, but I know it's like not the case. I totally understand that, but just like a viewpoint of me and how I feel. And yeah, it can be really, really hard. So to anyone who can drive, remember that is a privilege. You are so lucky, so fortunate to be able to have that privilege. And I hope you take that privilege and you use it wisely, because just like anybody else, that privilege can get taken away. I see people who text and drive or just reckless, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way because it always makes me think like, well, if I could drive, I would be driving a lot more cautiously than them, or, you know, they're so lucky and they just abuse the privilege in a sense. So just be grateful, really, just be grateful. I'm grateful for everything everyone's done for me to help me out in the little ways that they can, and I appreciate it and I show my appreciation, but that doesn't mean I don't have feelings about the whole topic of driving. I'm gonna get asked about it forever and ever and ever and ever. That's one piece of independence that I've never gotten to experience. Feels good talking about it. Felt really good talking about it. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you like these kinds of videos. Thank you guys for listening to me. Please subscribe if you guys haven't subscribed already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.